Welcome to Grit and Gravitas with Ann and Annie, bringing you savvy, spirited stories of success. We're excited to deliver 30 minutes of inspiration, impact, and goodness. We'll be bringing you guests and friends from around the country who have very special work and personal journeys. I'm Ann Deeter Gallaher, your co-host with Annie Carnathan, and this is Grit and Gravitas. Let's go! Welcome to Grit and Gravitas, and I've actually forgotten what episode we are, but we're getting up there. Annie,
I think we're double digits. I sent Ian a statistic. This is Jessica Meyers, and Ian will tell us a lot more about Jessica. But after 10, most cease. So 10 is the magic number. 80% cease. Don't get to 10, and I think we're there.
I think we're 11 on this one.
Gangbusters.
Anyway, Grit and Gravitas, welcome, Jessica Meyers. We're super excited to have you in the Grit and Gravitas podcast studio.
Thank you for having me. I feel really honored to be with two of my favorite people.
Privileged.
Yeah.
We're privileged.
This will be the fastest 30 minutes of your professional day. We'll put it that way. And we get about 5 minutes in, then we say, okay, Jessica has to come back. Leslie Farrar has to come back. Nancy Ryan. We've got a whole list of people that have to come back. But we are all about savvy, spirited stories of success. And woven in this are some setbacks and some comebacks and some pivot stories. And you have an incredible journey as president and CEO of GEM Group. So you founded your own construction management firm. And we want to dig deeper in that because I got to tell you, looking at this gorgeous young mom here, that might not be the first thing people think of. Like, I know that your Instagram photos, if you're in a hard hat, they look really awesome. I'm sure they do.
Well, not everybody can wear a hard hat like I do, but thank you.
Tell us a little bit about your backstory, and then we want to go deeper into some grit and resilience and some nuggets that our listeners are really going to learn from.
And the gravitas is obvious. I mean, she walks in a room and changes the room.
I missed the memo.
Definition of gravitas.
There's clearly an equestrian thing going on.
We're having a little girl moment here, I think. So,
Jessica Meyers.
Too kind.
Do share.
Yeah, I would love to. And a lot of times when I tell people what I do, they kind of look at me like I'm an alien when I say that I own a construction company, and they always look at me and go, "You own what? How did that happen?" So just to go back, a little ways. So when I was growing up, I used to walk around and tell everybody that I was going to be a lawyer and I was going to go to Princeton. So, I was not lacking any confidence.
High aspirations.
At age 8.
Oh, good.
My reality ended up being that I went to the esteemed West Virginia University.
Good party school.
And majored in political science. And I did not select West Virginia for its academics, but rather the social opportunities that it had to offer me. And a good time was had by all. So I spent 2 years there. Wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. Picked political science. I thought, well, if this lawyer thing's still hanging around, I could end up going to law school. 2 years in, got a little restless at West Virginia. Loved it, but wanted to do something different. Transferred to Penn State University Park. At that point in time, I changed my major, and my mom said to me, and I was still afraid of my mom at that point in time, and she said, "You can transfer, but you better make sure you're done in 4 years.
Ooh.
Or else."
Well, that's good advice.
Well, I was scared. And I didn't know what would happen if I didn't get done. So when I was thinking about what to transfer into major-wise, I knew I had to make sure I could get done in 4 years. But I still just had no idea what I wanted to do. Like, I didn't have that calling.
Yeah.
I didn't have that passion. I was jealous of my friends that knew what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I started to feel kind of anxious about that. But nonetheless, I majored in communications, Didn't know
a very noble
the catch-all.
field.
The catch-all. Figured, well, that's not going to hurt anything. So spent 2 great years at Penn State. During my summers off, and here's a little sneak peek, I worked for my stepfather, who owned a local construction company called Reynolds Construction, and I was the receptionist 2 years in a row.
Ooh.
Was really good at answering the phone and stamping and drawings and greeting people, and I did that 40 hours a week, 2 summers in a row. So finally not finally, in 4 years, as mother told me, from Penn State. And then she said, you better get a job immediately. There's no summer off. There's no gap year, like get to work. So my mom was big on work ethic. So I started having a couple of interviews, wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And I didn't like that feeling. So my stepfather said, what would you think about coming to work at Reynolds? And I thought, oh,
Wow.
come on. I don't know anything about construction. It was fine for the summer, but I'm definitely not doing that. Definitely not doing that. So a little more time goes by. He's pretty persuasive. He said, why don't you just give it a try? So I thought, okay, here's a door that's opening in front of me. Nothing else is calling to me. I'm going to give this a try. So I walked through that door, didn't really know what that was going to mean. And he said, okay, well, if you're going to come work for me, you're going to go out into the field and you're going to see what we do firsthand. So didn't get an office job. I got sent out to a job site for 2 years at the Milton Hershey School. And those of us that are local here in central Pennsylvania know the Milton Hershey School, and they've been building big things for years. And I got assigned to the student home renovation project, which if you've ever seen one of the student homes at Milton Hershey, they're 10,000 square feet. So they're not your typical student home. Anyway, so I went out to work with a team of men, and you can imagine how thrilled they probably were that the stepdaughter of the CEO of their company, here's a gift, enjoy. So
now, were you in full construction attire? Like in the field with them?
So we were out in a trailer.
Okay. You got boots on, and you've got...
When I needed to wear boots, I wore boots, but, had my hard hat. Yeah. So you wear the gear when you need the gear. Yes. Again. Safety glasses, you wear the hat, you wear the boots.
I think that's an OSHA thing or something.
You wear the safety vest.
Okay.
I have all of that in my trunk. I could have worn it. I should have worn it in here today.
Yeah, you should. Our next photo op.
Next photo op. So anyway, I spent 2 years out there with those guys, and I learned a tremendous amount, and they accepted me and they taught me, and I reflect on that. I'm like, why'd that happen? Why did they help me? And one of the lessons that I learned early on was to be humble and to listen and to learn and to not pretend to know anything that I didn't. And that's what I did. So I had a great 2 years out there. And some of the guys that I work with are still colleagues of mine today. And we laugh about You're that time and
president and CEO now
and how things evolved. So kind of to not elongate this fast forward, I did end up coming back and getting an office job. And I was doing business development for Reynolds. Company was really growing at that point in time. And got the opportunity to do a lot of other interesting things during my time there, served on the executive team and really started to build my foundation to, become a business owner. It was not in my sights at that point in time. So kind of what led me, to GEM. So spent about 10 years at Reynolds. And one of the things that was happening in the city at that time, there's a lot of big building going on. Market Square Plaza was being built. A lot of the things that are, permanent there today that we saw kind of in that late 90s, early 2000s. And Mayor Reed was very committed to making sure there was diversity represented on the construction projects. One of the challenges at Reynolds, who built a lot of those buildings, was, finding qualified, diverse subcontractors. And that's kind of where the seed got planted to say, there's an opportunity here in the marketplace, to start a company to address the void in the market and, kind of, build something. And so that's really where the initial seed was planted about starting GEM Group, about starting a woman-owned, woman-led construction firm. And I started that company at the end of 2003, and 17 years later, I'm still here.
Were you the first in Harrisburg? Were there any other women-owned construction companies or Central PA?
Yeah, I'm not aware of any other commercial general contractors, in Central PA. I mean, could there have been another? Perhaps, but no one that's probably on my radar.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was, definitely unique.
So walk us through some of the grit required.
Can I ask something first?
Okay.
I know.
I'm hard.
And he's like, I've been really quiet.
As
my turn.
You go.
I think one of the common themes, Jessica, to the powerful, successful women leaders we've had on the show is listening. And I do that extraordinarily well. And it's a huge part of my success. But when you go back to quote unquote business development, is that a euphemism for sales? And so is it's a quintessential male dominated industry, as evidenced by not naming another female owned competitor. And is it sales? Is it the best price wins? What is it when you say business development, right? Is that outreach saying, hey, I think at some point you're going to build something? Is it relationships? Now, full disclosure, Gem Group is building Universal's new building, and that's solely because of the relationship you and I have. And there's a relationship, but that's central to me. There's a reputation. There's work you've done, which I think your social does an outstanding job of promoting. So I think for women, I'm always going to say I'm sales, and it's pivoted to persuasion now, but it's all sales. Whether it's my team, whether it's a partner, whether it's a vendor. How was it then? Was it sales? Because that's a crucial component to a business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, those words are interchangeable: business development, sales. I mean, they kind of go hand in hand. But you hit the nail on the head. It's relationship building.
Yeah.
Relationships. Like I remember that early on when I was being mentored in sales, business development, that's all where it starts. Get in early. Once the word's out in the street that there's a project, you're too late. You want to be having those conversations early with, people that are in your target market before they even know maybe that they need, a project. Who do I want to do business with? What customers, align with, our philosophies and, would benefit from our services. So, we try to make identify, those targets and start to build relationships early. Does it happen every time? No, it doesn't. Sometimes, we're a little bit later to the game, but that's when we have the most success, when we can really get to know folks early on, understand, what are their goals? What are what are they trying to achieve? And we started talking about your project, Annie, years and years and years ago.
And it was solely, here's the land we need to find. Period. Like, these are the guardrails. This is the lane we have to stay in. But Jessica, when that happens, you're gonna build it. And
talk about a relationship.
My word is my bond, and there just was no. And and I think, look, I think unequivocally, you run a tremendous company. I'm not going to end the qualifier for a woman.
Right.
Like you're every bit, to me, reputation-wise, the best person to do this. And of course, I'm going to enjoy more of the time along the way with you. But I just look at those relationship building when there's not necessarily a light at the end of the tunnel that isn't a train. Then people say to me, well, when should I stop calling on someone? When is it really a waste of my time? And my answer to that is, when do your instincts tell you that you just don't enjoy anything about that person anymore? Because there's always something for me to be gained by time with someone that doesn't necessarily have that honeypot at the end. Like, I'm doing this because I think down the road I'm going to get something from you. That's too transparent. It's too disingenuous. And people ferret that out. So I just come back to that business development, and you're on boards of companies. You're in the charitable community. I mean, you're out there with your time. And I think all of that runs into a quantifiable way that says you're very, very successful.
Well, thank you.
Without saying that we can quantify it. You can't quantify that. You're either out there or you're not. And you're a wife, you're a mother. You have every bit the amount of things all of us as women have that makes you the CEO of a lot more than just your company.
And I try to instill that in my team too. I mean, you need to be visible in your community. That's so important to be involved and really roll up your sleeves. And I've been invited to serve on numerous boards, and I don't say yes unless it is an organization that, I really align with their mission. And I know that I'm going to be involved in do work. I don't just sit on a board so that I can put it on, in my bio.
Right.
That doesn't work for me.
That's
so
phony,
I've probably
right?
said no more than I've said yes. But the things that I've said yes to, I've stayed involved
Fully
for a very,
embraced.
very long
They're
time.
meaningful contributions.
And, have had leadership roles in those boards because I'm involved. I enjoy them, and I just think that's really, really important. Does it result in positive things for my business sometimes? Absolutely, and that's okay. That's just sort of a a positive, benefit that comes out of it. But that's never the primary reason. But it is important to give back and be visible, in the community. And I try to push that down into the culture of GEM.
And to follow that up, I want to, again,
Back to Gritty. Now it's time for Gritty.
Anyway, I have to slip this in.
Sorry.
Full
Okay.
full disclosure, Jessica serves on the Salvation Army Harrisburg Capital Region Board with me, and we are so blessed to have your all-in leadership and support and your attendance and your teams, just your wisdom and insight. And, I can't speak for you, but it's one of the best uses of my time when I was asked to serve. I thought, and like you, we align ourselves with different missions and visions, and I don't say yes to everything, but that was a win, and it proved even more prescient during COVID that it was a good use of all of our leadership time.
Yeah, it's been one of my favorite boards that I've served on. And in fact, I kind of categorize it as sort of like a human, services board. And this is the first one that I've ever served on like that. And it really opened my eyes to so many other parts of our community and needs. And it's been, outstanding. And I think everybody needs to have that experience. You need to have that, get up close and personal and see what's really happening in the community.
It's a reality check.
It is a reality check. And, Salvation Army hits so many, pockets, youth and, homeless and
nutrition, education.
Yeah, there's just so many pockets. They really are a catch-all for many things. And so thank you for inviting me to that board and, broadening, my perspective of the community.
Love having you. So now we can do the grit. Let's drill down a little bit deeper. And obviously getting, from think to build for GEM Group, you had to either do a lot of self-talk. You obviously have great self-confidence, but a lot more is required to open up and run and scale a construction company. So tell us, as a female, what kind of, conversations did you have? What skills did you feel you needed to add? And where did the grit come from?
Wow, that's like 10 questions all in one. Well, I'll go back to kind of the earlier days. There was so much that I didn't know. I didn't realize it at the time, but I do now, as I've, sort of...
learned on the job.
Yeah, learned on the job and built my toolbox. No pun intended there.
She used build. All the puns are flying.
That was critical for me early on was to make sure that I had, for the areas that I had voids where I was not strong, which were many early on. I was 30 years old.
Wow.
That was one of the reasons I was able to do it, because I thought, this is the best time to do this, because if I fail, I can reinvent myself. So that was, you're talking about self-talk. That's how I talk.
But did you think how much did that play in? My guess is it didn't play in very large because you were willing to go in the deep end. Like, did you ever think, 50-50, I might fail? Or did you say, okay, it's always a possibility, but I'm 95%.
Yeah, I knew it was always a possibility, but I wasn't going to let that head trash circulate in there too long, right? And that's not a good use of energy. So I kind of let that go right away. But I also, I read this Dale Carnegie book years ago. It's called The Worry Book. And it was a good book for me.
Good.
Really early on in my career. And it basically, one of the things that he said in that book is, think about what the worst case scenario is of something that you're worried about. Accept that outcome, right? And then move on. So that's what I did. I sat there and I said, what's the worst thing that could happen? I fail, I bankrupt this company, and then what? And then I'm going to go out and get a job making 6 figures because I'm really good at selling stuff. Or whatever.
Good,
to me, but so I kind of had that mental check, and then, I moved on.
Good.
But one of the things I did do is I built a good team around me. First an external team. So, making sure I had a good CPA, a good bank in my corner, a good counsel. And I had all of those things. And I relied on those resources for guidance in areas that, I just had no clue about.
Sure.
So that was really key. And then, just building an internal team. It is no secret that I do not have a technical background, right? I don't have an engineering degree. I don't have an architecture degree. I don't have a degree in construction management. So it's really important for me, to build that strong technical team around me. Do I know a lot more about construction today than I did 25 years ago? Absolutely. I know enough to be dangerous. They always, my team, when I start to say too much, they're like, oh boy, where's this going? But I know how to use my resources. Again, never pretend to know anything that I don't. And when I'm in a meeting with, a client like Annie, if she point blank asks me a question and I don't know it, I divert to someone else. But anyway, building that really strong internal team was critical for me at the beginning.
And for me to just visualize the worst that can happen, I'm 100% that then regardless of what does, I feel like I've already been there. It's okay. And any of the failure's not an option. Sure it is. I mean, it is. And so I just embrace that, to your point. Huge visualization person. But is that lurking? And to your point, I just don't focus on it. I never have. So I had a bankruptcy. Worst that could happen did. And then the feedback on that, beyond people not knowing, well, why would they know, is that X amount of years later, I did it again. I left it all behind again to go start something new midway through my career. Now, not my company. Learned I didn't want my own company. But same thing. I just fearless. The risk is minimized. 2 years. What happens? And probably every day for those first 2 years, I thought, what have I done? Can't do this.
So as the
Too
company
tough.
as the company grew, just kind of listening to you, in the first year or two, it didn't feel like I had as much to lose. But as I built this company and had more
Yeah.
employees and more clients,
That's
things start to feel a little different. The other thing that I wanted to mention, and you and I have talked about this before, is I got certified as a woman-owned business and a disadvantaged business to be able to, compete on certain state contracts. And, a lot of people said, as soon as you get that, you're just going to have contracts that are going to fall out of the sky. Well, let me just tell you that did not happen. So, I had to, just like everybody else, start to build, my portfolio. I had a good base of contacts from doing business development at my prior employer. So I had that to build upon. But that took me a little bit, by surprise, because everyone's like, you get those certifications and here it comes. The other big challenge thinking of Grit was when you sort of market yourself as a woman-owned small business, people like to put you in that box.
Yeah, keep you there.
And try to keep you there. And I had to deal with that for a number of years. And I would say it's just in probably the past 3 to 5 years that I've been able to break out of that box. And the way that our team's been able to do that is just by performing. There's no other way to do it. You have to put your time in. You have to, build that project resume.
dues to pay.
And so now I can say, yeah, I built a $12 million project last year. Yeah, I did a $14 million project. Now, let me be clear. It's not just about big projects, but I want to be able to, dip down and do the small stuff. But I also want to be able to scale up. And I don't want to be put in a box because we're a small, diverse business or we're a woman-owned business. And that label stuck with us for quite some time. And does it still come, once in a while? Yeah, it does. We'll see. We're pitching a $17 million job next week. So we'll see if they if they say, well, you're a small business. So, but that's, speaking of, challenges.
But you have to start somewhere. And that gave you at least an opportunity for the certification to be known. And look at all the people that you were presenting in front of. All of a sudden your reputation grows and now you're pitching a significant,
And
project.
it has been a benefit too, because it's a differentiator, right?
Right.
Being a woman-owned, woman-led business in a male-dominated industry, there's only 10% of our industry is women.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So, and I'm trying to lead by example at Gem Group. 35% of our staff are women, and those are not just administrative positions. These are leadership roles, and we have women out in the field.
They have hard hats on,
boots, running jobs.
Okay, young ladies,
mud.
if you're listening, this is pretty cool now.
Very cool.
And because I'm in PR and marketing and branding, I love your building to improve lives, which is your tagline. Mm-hmm. And I think it ties in with Urban Land Institute and our shared passion of the built environment really does affect every community and the health and wellness of people, how you build physical structures, how people walk to them or through them, or how they navigate them can be game changing, because those structures are here for decades, a long, long time. But kind of reminds me what Leslie said. Jessica's building to improve lives weaves a story into something that is a time and materials concept, like it's concrete and it's steel. Well, it's not really. You're thinking of the end young person user in that building and how they would use all the talent that you're putting into it. And really, I love the idea that you're seeing it as a story, as part of a community. And Leslie said the same thing with Milton Hershey. That's
Well, it's so ironic with the power of the women who have been kind enough to grace us with their time and tell us their story and tell everyone your story, Jessica, is, Leslie Ferraro, the chief marketing officer at Hershey Entertainment Resorts, made the pivot from PepsiCo to Hershey Entertainment Resorts, and you are Chocolate Town. Are you kidding me? And you're going to hear about the passion of her in a mission that benefits disadvantaged kids at the heart of it all, and how to amplify that legacy. And are you kidding me? You're both tied by that in some way, shape, and form.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up about building to improve lives. And this was part of, us maturing, as a business.
Sure.
About 5 years ago, we were doing our business planning. And I think not everybody, but many people have listened to Simon Sinek's talk on the why. And I'm in Vistage, and I think that's probably, we listened to it there. And we're
Shout
in
out
our
to
business
John
planning.
Dame.
And
John Dame.
I said, yeah, shout out to John Dame. I said, guys, we need to define our why. And they're like, well, what do you mean why? We're here to make money. We're here to give people jobs. And I said, no, that's not what
There's
I'm
so
talking
much
about.
more, so
There's
much
so much
more.
more. And so everybody had a homework assignment after that planning session, is to go back and think about the why. And I really thought long and hard about that. And I was like, why am I here? Why do I do what I do? And I'm like, and at the core of it, that was what I kept coming back to. I'm like, what we do impacts lives, improves lives. Community, our employees, our subcontractors, our suppliers, that whole process is making, so much impact. And so, I came back to the group, everybody had their little thing written down, and, at the end of the day, that's what we ended up with. But that is something we talk about. We talk about the stories. Sometimes they're big stories, right? Like, a Joshua Learning Center where, Kirk Hallett was able to expand his early education and after school for at-risk, and really change lives. And then, there's smaller stories where maybe someone's workspace was improved because now they have a window. I mean, they're not all...
That's huge.
They're not all profound, but we talk about those stories and capture those stories to remind ourselves, why we're doing. Because the business we're in, construction, it ain't easy. And there's a lot of headaches, and it's hard. And so it's important for our team to stay grounded, stay motivated, and, focus at the end of the day, like, why are we here?
And to wind down the time, I think about our building. So Universal's 33 plus years, founded by two brothers and another media professional, never had their own building. So 33 years of renting, now a building. And when I think of people throughout the country, that's going to become our hood ornament. It's going to come through there, and they're going to make judgments about that. What does it look like? How does it feel? And so that's enormously important for us.
And two rock star women leading
In perpetuity,
that
right?
project.
And so
You
I
and
completely agree
Jessica.
with you. Yeah. So that's what I just want to, as time winds down, right? So
These are extending like to an hour, Jessica. We've discovered that we are either talking too much or we have so much to learn about each of our guests. I love the weaving in of the story, and just reminds us that there's a purpose. If there's not a purpose to your day, you need to step back and really do a deep dive and figure out what your purpose is and the value that we bring every day. I thank you for the value you bring to our community, not only in service, but your buildings, your passion, your example. You're one of the rare, women leading an industry that others might not see themselves in. I know that you spend time with young female high school students, just saying, the premise that we say with Patty Husick is see one to be one. If we don't see women leading massive media companies or construction companies, then we don't even aspire to that. But you have broken barriers. I'm sure everyone has their scars, but you clearly come to your workday with a smile and a positive attitude, and we're going to make a difference today. And Harrisburg and Central PA is better for your service and for your professional work. So thank you for gracing us with Grit and Gravitas.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see the building.
Thank you.
yeah, and the last thing is we all have headwinds. It doesn't matter male, female. I hate that qualification, but when you say 10%, Jessica, that means 90% of the forces out there don't want you to succeed. They want you in that little manageable box. They want to control you. They want to determine your outcomes. And every day that struggle is real. And every day we have to not accept it and use at least part of our energy to say, I'm not going to accept that. And I have an army behind me that's going to help me not accept that. And we don't acknowledge that enough. It's exhausting.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And that's why I joked, I said, I hate talking about myself. I feel like it's my responsibility to tell my story, so that, set a good example for other women that you can't do this.
Well, whoever tells the story writes history. So for young women to even learn what that path looks like, they're going to Google, and Grit and Gravitas is going to come up.
Well, and part of this is now you have legacy.
Right.
Your daughter's going to listen to this, your son's going to listen to this, your mom's going to listen to this, and now it's recorded history for the Jessica Meyers legacy. And none of this happens without you. And we're preserving that now. It's going to live in perpetuity for your legacy. And that's one of the most exciting parts of this. So thank you.
So we like to end every podcast with asking our guests, is there one high gear piece of advice that you'd like to share with, young listeners, mid-careerists, on-rampers,
women
if you
stuck?
would? Yes.
Yeah, women stuck or, young women trying to figure out what they want to do. Don't be afraid to take an opportunity to step through that door and to take a chance. There's a quote that I like, and I might, bobble it a little bit here. But I read this quote and it sticks with me. If you have an amazing opportunity, to do something, but you don't know how to do it yet, say yes and figure it out later.
Fake it till you make it.
I feel like that, that was me. I didn't have a construction degree. I didn't have an architectural degree, an engineering degree. I had some business acumen. Yeah. I was really good with people. I am still really good with people, I think. So I had some positive qualities, but I figured it out, and so that's the advice I want to give. Don't be afraid,
yes.
Because with mentoring and support and creativity and consultants and the team, like you can do it. Whatever that opportunity is, it doesn't mean owning a business.
Right.
It could be, a new job, a new career, taking a chance on something until you figure it out, which is what it did. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I'm going to go kill some time for 2 years on a job site, and here's where it can lead. So that would be my advice.
And that was time well spent.
It was.
Great. Jessica Meyers, President and CEO of GEM Group, thank you so much. We can't wait to see the new Universal Media building.
That's going to be a soiree. That's going to be completed. A party.
So we are really compiling a fabulous content library of savvy, spirited stories of success. And we're going to have Jessica back too. So
it's our show. This is what you tell me. We can have whoever we want.
Have a high gear day, ladies.
Thanks,
until
Thank
next
you,
time.
Ann and Annie.
Thanks. Thanks for listening. It's our desire that these stories will bring energy, ideas, and fresh thinking that you can use today. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Instagram. And have a high gear day.